We are independent wherever we go. When we're walking down the old Kent Road, all the windows open wide.
I think today, the outlook of the young man today, especially myself, is that we want something better than our people had.
Myself, I think children are better off these days. They've got more chance of picking what they want.
Nowadays, I do feel myself that there is opportunity for even the lowest, providing he's got the necessary to push himself forward with it.
I came to this side of the river in 1930, and quite honestly, I thought that I wouldn't stop here more than about 6 weeks. The poverty and general depressed state of this entire district was really most pitiful. Now, of course, everything is changing. There are a few of the old houses left, but in the main, they have been swept away. This area south of the river, consisting of Lambeth, Bermondsey, Camberwell and Deptford, consists mostly of light industry. But of course, the docks, which is on the Bermondsey side, is of vital importance to the inhabitants.
Well, in my own particular walk of life, I'm a driver. I drive for a big collision firm. And I do notice on my way round that everything has changed. There's far more opportunity for people. There's opportunity even in my particular life, my particular walk of life. Whereas promotion didn't exist so much before, it does now. But this has probably been brought about by the attitude of the boss and the working class towards each other. In common with most wives, I think my wife is better off financially nowadays, and consequently she does pass quite a lot of this onto the children in the way of taking care of the little wants. But one wonders whether the children appreciate this, because never having experienced the business of really being short. They're certainly not as adventurous as what we were. Now I remember that when we tired of playing games, we'd often walk up to places like Tower Bridge, London Bridge, and all little waterways in between. In fact, there was very little ground in and around Tooley Street, which is the main road running level with Thames, that we as boys didn't know. We explored it enough and often got chased off by the police. It was great fun for us to see ships, watching the dockers and the stevedores loading and unloading, watching the pleasure ships coming up in the summer and going out. In fact, the whole way of life was built up for us by finding out things for ourselves rather than have people finding out for us, as it were. Now, once again, this is the old make do and men probably. We were able to entertain ourselves more by virtue of the fact that we had to improvise rather than have things showered upon us, which does seem to be the thing today. Education-wise, I wish that I and my generation had the opportunities that the children have today. But it does seem sad when we're looking at it now and we see the opportunities they've got that we missed. I do feel that in my own particular instance, had I had the opportunities that are presented to the children of today, without being unduly modest, I could probably have finished up on a higher plane what I am today.
There's hardships and worry and trouble and grief. And starvation. It was starvation. None of us got what we needed. Everything got so bad, and I think it was the works of God that cleared it. Because since the war, things began to look up. The poor law was washed out, and people began to give up work.
This is the Snowsfield Bermondsey Club, the over 60s, but we don't say how many's over 60. They're nearer 80. One lady's 90. 90%, simply 91, and there's a good many 85, but we don't all tell our age, see, because we're hoping. But we have a very nice time here. We come here every Thursday afternoon. We have a nice cup of tea and a biscuit, and a nice sing-song. Because London isn't like it was when I was young. It's altered quite a lot. We were poor, but really I think we were very happy. But I must say, they're very good to the old people in Bermondsey these days. You no need to want. It's changed in a lot of ways, but still I don't think the young people are so contented as what we was when me and most of our club folk were young.
Well, I say they were terrible, dark, killing days, and mental homes were filled with poor women going away from the worry. I'm sure, when I come to think of those days, and think of my age, I thought, very often think, I should have never lived to 87. I should have been dead years ago. I say today, to compare those days with the days of today, we are wonderfully blessed and well cared for, looked after. Compare the mother who were going to give birth to a child. I was one. My husband was out of work. I had to try and earn a shilling. That didn't give me much nourishment. Neither did it give my baby much nourishment, did it? So when our babies were born those days, they were poor little babies. And it was as common could be to see the funerals of little white coffins. And they used to bury on a Sunday. And it wouldn't be one baby buried on that Sunday. It may be 2 and 3. Compare those babies, how they died, and today, when you look round, there's some of the beautifulest babies you could slap eyes on. I came here when I was married. And I've been here 25 years. The biggest change I've seen
In my particular area, it's a little park opposite. Used to be all houses there, but now they've put a park there. And the amount of cars I have down the street, it's just like a parking space. Years ago, we never used to see all those cars. We were lucky if we see one. I find there's another change is that young people who are married, they just won't stand for any nonsense from one another, whatever. All they want to do, if anything goes wrong, is to have a divorce, instead of trying to stick and get over their difficulties. On the other hand, I don't blame them, because I think everywhere they look or turn, there's this sex business. I'm not a prude. I might sound as though I am, but I'm not really. I'm very broad-minded. But sometimes it makes me feel sick. You get it on the television, posters, everywhere you look, so this thing creeps in, sex. I don't think it's necessary. Because everybody knows when they get older, whether they're a boy or a girl. Why should the television have to keep telling us? I suppose if I'd been born with this generation, I should have the same feelings as they have. Because every generation has its own particular feeling.
Oh, so I think teenagers are run down a lot myself. Well, we all think that, I reckon. And because we wear a leather jacket, jeans and that, we're described as bad. Everybody runs us down. They want to control our lives. The police want to run our lives. They're always onto us, just because we walk along the streets. Oh, so I think teenagers come into three categories. There's mods, there's rockers, and there's in-betweens. I reckon a rocker, fella runs around in a leather jacket, boots, and a pair of jeans. He does what he likes, when he likes, and how he likes. A mod, well, comes up, wears a suit, wears a tie, wears a collar, latest hairstyle, latest fashions, goes to the latest dancing, learns the latest dancing. All the rest, just likes to be modern, a mod. It's the same like going inside, in prison that is. Mods, rockers and in between, all different reasons. Some, they get mixed up with the wrong crowd. They can come out reformed, just say they're not going to do it anymore. And on the other hand, they could come out an hardened criminal. I think a lot of it myself is to do with their family background. If you've got a good family upkeeping, I myself, I've got terrific parents, and I just reckon them and they're great. But on the other hand, I know people, their fathers, their mothers, they come home at night, they're both drunk, they both fighting each other. Naturally enough, the kid don't like it. I'm asked if I believe in God. But I suppose that stands to question, really. I mean, so I've never seen God, so why should I believe him? Although there's no reason why I shouldn't. I mean, so everybody else does, it's our religion.
I don't think we are average young people, because we bear our futures very much in mind. We depend very much on the West End for our entertainment, and as often as we can afford it, we go there to the theatre, to the cinema, or to eat in restaurants. I think it is fair to say that we are ambitious, and although we do hope to settle finally in England, we'd like to go abroad to work for a couple of years to gain some experience. I'm nearly 20, and I'm in my second year at Teachers Training College. I stayed at school until I was 18 because I wanted to become a teacher. My fiancé Alan is also 20, and he's studying applied chemistry. I think the difference between my father and mother and Alan and I is that we've taken full advantage of all the opportunities offered to us, and we are ambitious.
We love teenagers. I have 4 children of my own, Anne, who's 20, and Peter, who is my brother. I brought him up since he was 9, he's 20, and also a boy of 17 and Valerie 15. And 2 or 3 years ago, when the others were younger, we used to have quite a lot of teenagers in the house, so that's why we like them. We've got to know them very well. Underneath, fundamentally, deep down, but they're lovely.
I'm the owner of this house, and will give you some idea of the change in times. Now, when I first started work at the age of 14, I was unloading barges of timber and getting 11 to 9 a week for a 47-hour week. And in those days, you were lucky to have a job. There were at least 6 or 7 persons for one job, and you had to study it. The young ones, of course, they've got it a lot easier. Very much easier today. I think they deserve it. Well, my daughter, she's earning more than I am today, so that just gives you some idea.
Yes, I do earn more, but to earn more you must accept a lot more responsibilities, which makes life very complicated. Such as, if we get a new job in our work, which is that I am a punch card operator for a building contractor, you can worry over this and bring your worries home with you, which sometimes can complicate your love life, I suppose, or your family. You can be irritable, low, or you can just get really fed up, depressed about these things. That's why I think life is complicated. Myself, I think the bomb, it hangs over you all your life, and you think about it now and again, but you've got this feeling of insecurity, and but you can't help that. You've just got to take it in your stride.
Les works in a jeweller shop, and as you know, shop assistants are not particularly well paid. And people often ask me if money is important. And, well, it is. I mean, it is to everybody, but it's not all that important. It's a struggle, but it's really, when you come to think of it, it's well worth it.
The things have changed for the better now, quite a lot. As my father, he would have never dreamed of owning a house, or he couldn't have owned a house such as this. Of course, the older people, it's nice to know there's a few homes going here and there for them. In the old days, I mean, there was no hope. I mean, you were just bunged up in a back room and forgot almost. But that sort of thing has certainly improved.
We don't have very many teenagers here, but in a way I'm glad because they would be very noisy. I start work at 7:30 in the morning. I come out of doors at 7:15, and I'm in here by about 20 past. It don't take me long because I don't live far from the factory. I live on my own, and I'm very happy now to what I used to be. And I go to my bingo once a week, which I enjoy very much. I like bingo. It's very important to me because it gives me life. I go once a week, Thursdays, but if I had more money, I'd go more. But owing to circumstances, I cannot afford it.
Right. Here's middle line, 21.
I earn £7, 5 and 6 a week. And it's a bit of a struggle, but the rent I pay is very dear. Bingo takes my mind off my worries, and I meet friends where I would not meet otherwise.
50. Top of the house, 90.
It costs me 2 and 6 to go in. You get 10 goes for that, works out at 7 to go. Then you have a shilling raffle if you want it. Then if you can afford it, you can have a 1-3 for money prizes afterwards. I don't think that's dear, because if you went into a pub, you spend more with meeting people and treating them.
84, 8 and 4. 23, 2 and 3. Somebody said lie. Where are you? Pretend I can't see you. Over there.
This club does not play for very big money because it cannot afford it. It's only a working class club for working class people. I think everybody is in this world to enjoy themselves, and I'm sure they should do. That's what you're in the world for. Of course, everyone has to go to work, even the married ones, because they got the children and the extras. Some of them go charing.
quite apart from the extras, I like to go to work. I've always been to work. I've been so used to getting up that I could never lay in. And I like working. Well, I get up in the morning at 4:45 and I sit and have my nice cup of tea and biscuit and I'll dress myself and then I'm out. Some of these streets might look ugly to other people, but they bring back memories for when I was a child. And since I'm growing up too now. And I meet my friend at Neckinger Estate and another lady, but we leave her at Arnold Estate. Well, we have to walk because there's no buses in that time of the morning, so that's the reason why we have to get up early to go so we get to work, because it takes us half hour, nearly half hour to walk to work. And when I used to go to school, I always used to walk this way, and there used to be all old houses. But now it has changed, and there's all flats. And I see a change as the time goes by. Well, I think the place looks more cleaner than what used to be like years ago, like when the old houses were there. The most important thing in my life is my children, Sandra and Martin. And I don't think married life is nothing without children. Being happy is to watch your children growing up and developing, and to see how affectionate they are to you and how loving. And I think that is the best of your life, happiness of your life, when you see them the way they are to you. And I think it's lovely to be a mother. I walked along here in all sorts of weather. The snow, the rain, and the sunshine in the summer. And it's lovely, and I liked it. As I've walked along here for nearly 7 years, I think I'll carry on walking till I'm 64. Oh.
Before the war, it was a rare thing for a man and wife to go out for a drink, much the same as they do now. But the attitude of the man towards his wife in those days was, well, you're more or less after me, I'm the big boss chief. Well, that position has definitely changed now. Furthermore, the incidents that followed the evening out, Saturday evening out, was a little bit, well, what shall I say, unbearable to think about now. To see a man hit his wife was something that was far too commonplace. As I think of it now, it almost seems as if it's a trick of imagination, but it's a fact. The relationships have definitely changed. The relationship of the man towards his wife and his attitude. Probably this is due to the fact that the woman is contributing towards the home, but I do think that they've become more as a unit than what they were pre-war.
It's only on the weekends that the pub is pretty full. On weekdays, well, it is dead. People don't come out. I work in the Surrey commercial docks. When you go for work, this is how it starts. You get down there 7:30 in the morning. On one side of the road stand the gangers, and the other side of the road stand the men. The chap who's calling the gang, he wants particular types of chaps who's strong, wealthy boys, and he would call all 12 men. You would finish that at 10 to 8, and then you start work in the docks. Now, normally, Surrey commercial docks is a timber docks, and I will say a big timber docks. All types of timber, all sizes. To get into the docks, it's hard. You just can't walk into the docks for a job. It's a family concern, and we like to think that we can hand it down to our children or our sons. Well, in recent years, this particular docks, Surrey commercial docks, has took the general cargo because the particular young chaps there today are not like the old stevedores that used to pull their guts out all day long, pulling about timber for as much as 8-9 shillings a day. Now, the work is more skilled, more faster. Piecework rates. Mind you, in the docks, they get very good money. When I was a lad, the average docker's earnings was £4-6. If you had a good week, you would touch 9 or 12. That was a fabulous week. Now the cost of living is so great, £12 is a flat, bad week. We can earn up as much as £50 a week, but they're exceptional jobs, jobs that call for skill. People outside the industry don't realise this, but they want to come down the docks and see chaps doing 500 to 600 tonne of flour a day. And I will say that they earn it. I am one of the chaps who's done it, so I know. Now you take a gang of men, 12 men, you get 10 men, very, very good workers. And then you have 2 chaps that just want to laze about, don't like pulling their weight. Well, a good ganger would turn around and say to his fellow mates, well, he's got something wrong with him, or he's got a bit of trouble at home. So we in turn say, well, we'll carry him today. We work for him that day. But you'll find in the long run, they start playing up, and there's only one way to deal with them people, is to turn around and say, well, you're out. And when you're out, you're out. But the ganger just leaves the man roasting on the stones, as we call it, and he don't give him a job. So he picks the next bloke up who thinks he's a good worker, and then he's in the regular game. Fortunate enough for him. The men today are like everybody else. We have our cars, we have our television sets. Some got to have them on hire purchase, some are fortunate enough to pay money down. I'm one of the chaps that's had stuff on hire purchase, and I'm not afraid to say so. Hire purchase is a good thing, providing that you take it steady, take it normal, and get the things that you want. I don't mind keeping up with the Joneses, I want to beat the Joneses. What worries the average chap, a working class chap, he doesn't get to say. He doesn't get the chance to voice his opinion. He's interested in politics, surely he is. He must be, otherwise, well, he can't think much of his country, you see. More and more mechanisation is coming into docks. A very, very good thing. It takes a long time to mechanise these places, and it takes a lot of money. The firm I work for is a big firm, and we are mechanising as fast as we can. Some of the chaps in the docks today don't like mechanisation because they know the old days. They can remember the Great Strike, the 1927 Great Strike, where thousands was out of work.
I'm always a happy-go-lucky fella. I try to be happy with my family. I know I shall be happy. It's a normal thing today. Not like the old times when you was kind of down and out and hard up kind of thing. I like to go out and spend my money, go about in the car, enjoy myself. Everybody should be happy, and I don't see why they can't be. The things I like are the things I want. The things I've got, I'm happy with. And I like to be happier still.
I do think employers are much better to us these days. I do think that we're in closer contact with them. We have got lovely facilities. We've got a fine swimming pool that we can go into in our lunch hour. I think we work better because we're happier and we can talk about the fun we had in the pool at lunchtime. I've been here since 1932, and I do think people must be more skillful because of the machines they have to cope with. It's quite a companionable job. We all have fun together. The ways of packing chocolate has changed so much. They are much more complicated. Most of the women are married. We call it the school shift. They take their children to school before they start work, and they're home in time to collect them. This work, to the outsider, may look boring, but it isn't. There's always something different coming along, different novelties and different coloured foils, and it all helps to vary the job. I was born here, and before the war, most of the workers here were local people, but people don't seem to stay nowadays. I think it's because they've got a choice of so many jobs. My employers say they have a 90% turnover change of employment during a year. I think the boss has more respect for the workers these days. In fact, I think everybody has.
Well, if you wanted help, who's out of work, you wouldn't go while you've got anything in the place that would fetch a shilling. You'd have to go to right down in want. And if you did have anything left in your home, when he came down to see you, he'd say, well, what about that on the wall? What did you come for? That you'd have to sell that picture if it was the value of a shilling, and when you'd sold that, the next day you could go and ask them for something. They give you a ticket for 2 loaves, might be black bread, it might give you some rice, some flour and some potatoes, but you couldn't go again for a long time.
The old people did have a bad time in the old days. My mother, who is 74, had a bad life when we were children, as we were in rooms. George and I have 2 children. Jennifer, who is 9, as you can see here, and Carol, who is a teenager, and she is 15. And as you can see, she likes makeup and clothes. Carol doesn't read at all. I think myself, if she was to read a bit more, she'd learn a bit more. But I was never one for reading, so I suppose she takes after me. In my younger days, if you had a book, my mother used to do a nap. Say, oh, reading again. Don't know what you find in them books. Load of trash. With the girls and boys of today, they start courting young and they're trusted. They just stop in a room on their own. And you don't interfere. The only time you go in there is when they have a cup of tea or coffee or anything. Myself, as regards of girls getting into trouble and having babies, why I think it is because the parents don't let the boys come into the house. They find back turnings to go to where no one about, as the saying is, and then that's when the trouble starts. Things have changed, but some things are still the same. We still shop in the market. East Street Market is more or less a working class market. You can buy a great big bowl of fruit for the kids to last them the week, whereas if you buy it in a shop, sometimes you pay dear for a pound of apples, pound of oranges, whereas you can buy £2 at a time at East Street. As a rule, my husband pays for that. You can buy bargains. You can go to East Street and buy the dress, say for 30 shillings, but if you buy it in a shop, you might have to pay £2 or £2.10 for it. And it may be the same kind of dress, same make. The stallholders will tell you that times have changed. As regards to buying bananas and that, they auctioneer them at East Street. But you stand there sometimes and wait for it to come down too low and you've missed your chance. I like to go to church to be married and christened and buried, as the saying is, but I don't keep it up. And I don't force the children to go. If they want to go, they go. Children today have a better education. Unfortunately, mine's not as brainy as some. And if one is bright, it helps the others. But if you're not bright yourself, you can't help them. Terrible, isn't it? Sex is taught more in school than what we had it. We had to find out for ourselves. My mother never told me a thing. She always said she had to find out, so I've got to find out. I tell my daughter whatever she wants to know, because if they know what to stand clear of. But if you don't know nothing, it's inquisitive minds. On a man's wages, if you've only got a man's wages coming in, you've got to make ends meet. You've got to do without things to save for your holiday, otherwise you wouldn't get holiday. It's no good saying, people say, oh, you're well off because you have holiday, but you're not. You've got to save for holiday. I met my husband George at my cousin's demo party. We met in the Easter, we was engaged in the June, and we were married in the December. We have no regrets. He's good to me, and what he's got, I've got, and vice versa. The only one thing what we would like is a house of our own, and if I was to win £2,000 or more, I would put it down on a house so that we'd say we've got something of our own that we can ask our friends to. And we're under no obligation.
The housing really shows the change most. You just have to look at this area south of the river to see how different it is. It was the war that did it, and a good thing too. The only good thing that ever came out of the war, incidentally. We were bombed terribly. About 15,000 houses were destroyed. And although I believe the councils have rehoused about 25,000, there are still an awful lot of us living in the old houses. The old houses are all right in a way, except that they don't have bathrooms, and we all want bathrooms. It's not very nice for a man when he comes home dirty to have to get his wife and kids out of the way so that he can clean up in the kitchen. And it's an awful expense going to the baths. I suppose all of us want to own our own houses, but I don't think there's much chance of that. In old days were terrible days, certainly they were. But when you look back, you always remember the best parts of the bad. Look at the things you've lost. Neighbourliness. I think television has a lot to do with that. That and the women working. People living in flats. They come in, there's no time, is there? Look at the old gardens. They're so close together that it was as natural as breathing to have a chat while you were hanging out the clothes. But look at those big blocks. How would you know if anyone was sick or needed help? When I was a boy, if my mother was sick, she'd say, "George, run down the street and get Mrs. So-and-so. She'll help," and she would. Even with all the things that's wrong with the old houses, most of us would rather live in a house, renting it, that is, than go in flats. I don't say I'd mind, but my wife would. She says she'd hate flats. What other people don't realise is that we've always lived like this. It's a sort of traditional way of life, so it's natural we hate change. Everybody hates change, I suppose. And when your father and your grandfather and all your people have lived in a certain way, well, you just can't make people change very quickly. The bad old days were terrible old days. It's a funny thing, but just because the housing is better, the old neighbourliness has gone. You had to come out to breathe because the old houses were so bad. So you talk to your neighbours, naturally. Now you live inside in your own world with your television. And you don't know what's happening to people, except that what used to be happening, I hope and trust, will never be allowed to happen again. It was terrible the state things were allowed to get into. Unbelievable when you think of it today. Yet half the people didn't know and didn't care. We were left to get on with it. Things are better, and we're going to keep them better. But this so-called affluent society, or welfare state, or whatever you like to call it, still isn't as good for a lot of people as they like to make it out to be. As I say, there's still a lot to be done.
I certainly would like to be a member of the middle class, because I think they're a nice class of person, but, well, we've got to fight for these things.
When I hear people say, "Oh, the good old days, oh yes, we were all friends together," yes, but that didn't cover our table or our want. When we look back and think of our experience, it makes you shudder. But I do say today, they're wonderful days. I'm very grateful, and I hope everyone else is.
We know